Let's get more on the business package that's been unveiled for Victoria with our reporter Zalika Rismal in Melbourne. So Zalika, what's Daniel Andrews had to say to spell out what's on offer there?
Well, the state government says this $3 billion package is the largest in the state's history, calling it an unprecedented response to an unprecedented challenge. Now, the package will include cash grants, cash flow support and tax relief. And I'll just take you through some of the key measures. So $1.1 billion in cash grants for businesses affected by coronavirus restrictions. Now, that will mean that more than 75,000 businesses with payrolls of up to $10 million will be able to get grants of up to $20,000. It'll also include payroll tax deferrals, as well as some targeted support for some industries, for example, the hospitality sector, which has been so ravaged by coronavirus restrictions this year. So, for example, they'll have a fund offering cash grants directly to venues. So Melbourne venues will be eligible for up to $30,000 in cash grants, while regional Victorian venues will be eligible for cash grants of up to $25,000. They'll also be eligible for the waiving of licence fees as well. Now, the government says that this package, in addition to the support that's already been provided this year during the pandemic, amounts to $6 billion. But it has also flagged announcements relating to sole trader support later in the week, so we'll still hear what they have to say on that front. But the Premier today, here's what he had to say on this support package earlier today.
This is a massive investment of both cash grants, deferred taxes, tax cuts. This is very, very significant, but it's what's needed. And I thank everyone from industry, large and small, diverse, right across the state, for the very productive partnership that we have with them, the direct feedback that's helped us design this package. It is unprecedented in nature. I can confirm for you that I will speak with the Prime Minister this Savo about that package to brief him on the details of it.
Daniel Andrews there. Now, Zalika, of course, we're counting down for the lifting or the easing of some restrictions across Victoria. So just take us through the changes that will be coming into effect and the next steps that we're looking to see being taken.
Certainly. Well, metropolitan Melbourne, of course, we've been in stage 4 for many weeks now. Very welcome but welcome changes coming in tonight from midnight. We'll see, of course, the curfew shortened. It will start at 9 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. The time for exercise or for some social interaction will increase to 2 hours. That will allow people, for example, to go with a friend to a park. We haven't been able to do that for many weeks now in Melbourne. We'll also see playgrounds open, and of course, that much anticipated single social bubble will also come into play. But as for the next step for Melbourne, we won't see any more easing of restrictions until at least the 28th of September. And of course, that is provided that trigger threshold is met. The 14-day average needs to fall below 50. Now, we're currently sitting at 56.9 as of today after those 41 new cases that were reported. But we are seeing that decrease daily. So yesterday we were in the realms of 61.6. And the Chief Health Officer today saying he's very confident that we will meet that target, and he's expecting to see numbers fall from between 20 and 30 within the next 2 weeks. Now, as for regional Victoria, they'll also be seeing some lifting of restrictions tonight. Things like outdoor gatherings increasing, outdoor pools will open, a staged return to the classroom will also happen. But regional Victorians can look forward to almost being assured a further easing of restrictions just within days. The Premier today saying that the regional Victoria is on track to take another step potentially this week. Now, that threshold that regional Victoria needs to meet is different to Melbourne. They need to record a daily average of fewer than 5. They're currently at 4.1. In fact, they have only 52 active cases right across the regions there. So quite promising news there. And that next step would involve things like people being able to leave their home for any reason, and also a further reopening of cafes, restaurants and pubs. So a promising day.
Well, also today, Zalika, we understand there have been protests in Melbourne. What can you tell us about those?
That's right. Well, it's the second day in a row that we've seen anti-lockdown protesters here in Melbourne. We've seen several people arrested and several scuffles in the CBD, particularly around that Queen Victoria Market area. Of course, it follows protests yesterday where we saw 50 fines issued and 14 arrests, a very big police presence throughout the city, both yesterday, today, and of course last weekend we also saw anti-lockdown protests here in Melbourne where we had 17 arrests and also 160 fines issued.
Our reporter Zalika Rizmal there with all the details in Melbourne. Federal Health Minister Greg Hunt says the timeline for a coronavirus vaccine has not been interrupted. Oxford University will resume trials of its vaccine candidate with pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca after testing was abruptly suspended last week. Mr Hunt says the federal government will ensure safety is the top priority on any development. Australia has a deal to manufacture the vaccine domestically if it's proven successful.
We have one of the strongest universities in the world, with one of the strongest medicines companies in the world, under one of the strongest regulatory regimes in the world. They've prioritised, as we do, safety above all else, and they've examined the case, they've determined it's safe to proceed, and therefore the vaccine trials are continuing. And the latest advice we have from the company to my office, as early as this morning, is that the timetable for vaccine provision to Australia is unchanged, with early 2021 continuing to be the expected timeframe.
In New South Wales, 9 new COVID-19 cases have been recorded. 4 of the cases are in hotel quarantine. 1 is locally transmitted and being investigated, while the final 4 are locally acquired with a known source. 2 of the locally acquired cases were linked to the eastern suburbs Legion Club cluster, while the other 2 were linked to the St Paul's Catholic College Greystanes cluster. New South Wales Health also noted that a previously recorded case visited the KFC outlet in Concord on the 6th of September. Several major travel and tourism chief executives are launching an advertising campaign calling for Queensland to reopen its borders. Virgin, Qantas Flight Centre and Hello World have launched the campaign in the lead up to the October 31st Queensland state election, taking aim at the state's tough border policy and calling for restrictions to be eased in order to kick-start the economy. The Deputy Premier, Stephen Miles, has brushed off the criticism, saying the government's top priority remains the health and safety of Queenslanders.
These businesses and their chief executives obviously have a right to further the economic interests of their companies, but the government has a responsibility first and foremost to take care of the health and the jobs of Queenslanders, and that's what we'll continue to do. Can I just say, if the boss of Qantas wanted to do more and show compassion for Australians, then he wouldn't be gouging them tens of thousands of dollars just to come home. He would be working with the government to get them home rather than attacking us on the front page of the paper.